The Beat People podcast, episode 81 with Peter Brown of Roland. Let's get into it.
We all know
Venom
is very dangerous.
What's good, people? It's your boy Venxm, and today we're back again. But I'm going to give it a different angle. So today we're actually talking about the Beat People's podcast with Mr. Peter Brown of Roland. I thought it was a dope conversation where they covered off some really important information and topics to do with the SP404. But for me, there were like a few key things that stood out, especially with regards to the things that I've been speculating. So I'm just going to touch on the things that like stood out to me, just so that I'm not taking away from the whole podcast, because I think it's a really good watch, even though it's like an hour and 45 minutes. I'm just going to take some small little bits here and there just to talk about some certain sections. So the first thing.
Another quick question, the subsonic effect. I noticed you guys don't have that in there. Do you guys plan on adding that at some point?
I can neither confirm nor deny that,
Okay.
that we will ever add this.
I got you.
Effect.
I got you. Wink, wink. Okay.
But if there's enough demand for it, that's,
Yeah.
you know, people making themselves heard with like helpful suggestions and things. That's
Right.
always welcome, especially when it comes to effects, because that's what this product does great. And that's what our engineers also are really skilled at doing, is making these dope effects.
So the main thing that I took away from Peter, I'm about to call him Pete. The main thing that I took away from Pete, about to call him Pete again. The main thing that I took away from Peter's answer is that the subsonic is not that popular amongst the wider community of SP404 users, and they just didn't want to waste time putting it in there when they can put other new things in. They just wanted to reprioritize their resources. All he said was, if we make enough noise about it, they'll put it back in. However, I'm not holding my breath for it going back in, because based on the comments that I've seen with regards to the subsonic, I don't think a lot of people use it or know what it does. So I don't see the community making that much noise about it, because a lot of people don't use it. So it might unfortunately be rest in peace for the subsonic, but you know, it was just a specific use case anyway, so I'm not gonna cry about it. But the next point that I wanted to bring up, Bryce is like a man after my own heart, because he was asking all the questions that I was like, yes, this is what I need to hear answered. So here's the second video.
I have an MPD 218 here, you know, to play MIDI notes and stuff like that. Can the SP404 Mark II basically replace that? Would it be able to send, note values to Ableton if I wanted to get rid of that? And do the knobs send CC values?
The pads currently send note data on each bank is a different MIDI channel. The knob CC data, I don't think it's currently implemented. There's no MIDI connection with the knobs, not at this moment.
Again, perfect question, perfect answer, but something that I didn't know. So the SP404 Mark II is actually a fully capable MIDI controller as well, which is something that has really, I'm not gonna lie, this has really annoyed me about the MPC, because if you have the MPC hooked up to your laptop and you try to use it just as a MIDI controller, not controlling the MPC software in the unit or in the DAW, it doesn't work properly. But by the sounds of what Peter's explained, the SP404 does. It's just 16 pads and then each bank is a new channel. So if that is the case, the second part of that answer / question was about CC data coming from the knobs on the SP. And I definitely thought that was already implemented, but from the answer that Peter gave, I believe in a free firmware update in the near future, we'll probably see CC data able to be sent from the knobs, because I think enough people would ask for that from the community anyway. It makes sense. If it's a MIDI controller, let the whole thing work. It doesn't make sense that the pads work and the knobs don't. So, and the knobs are digital, because you can see it on some of the effects, it like shows digital changes in the screen, so it's already digital. So for it to send CC, I would assume is quite easy, but we'll see. Anyway, the third thing that I want to highlight from that long conversation.
So just to kind of tie things up, I know, well, is it safe to assume there are more effects coming through firmware updates? I think you kind of alluded to it in your video. You said We're launching with these effects.
It's fine, bro.
Verbiage is key. We're launching with this amount of effects.
Look into the matrix, people.
There you go. There you go.
So I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to work out that what he just said is that yes, they will be adding effects to the SP404 Mark II, regardless if it's free or paid. They are adding effects, which is what I said. They're definitely adding effects, but I speculated that you could buy them anyway. If you watch the episode and you find that section where he says that firmware updates will be free, because I remember him saying it so clearly. He says they'll never charge for firmware updates. And then they spoke a little bit more about the kind of things that they'd put in the store, because it was basically everything that I speculated was like embodied into one question, and he tackled a majority of the question but not all of it. Long story short, he said that all firmware updates will be free, which is obvious because firmware updates are free and expansions are paid. So he said with regards to the expansions that they would do instruments, but again it's WAVs, so it'd be like 16, it'd not be like 16 levels, but they would sample an instrument chromatically on 16, you know, for 16 semitones, and then that would basically constitute an instrument on a bank. And then you might get like, he said something about like a Middle Eastern pack or something like that. Anyway, the instruments will be there because it's a no-brainer. Like I said, the firmware updates will be free, which he confirmed, but I already said. I said expansions will be paid. I said actually, and you can quote me saying this, I said that in the future, hopefully, we would be able to buy effects from Roland Cloud, because then you'd be able to really trick out your SP in a way that is specific to you and not necessarily have the same SP that everybody else has. Even though, yeah, people would do like different faceplate designs and have different knobs on theirs, etc., and different logos now, I still feel like internally there will be that opportunity to have a slightly customized machine. But we'll see what comes to pass. Mine is pre-ordered, so you know, once it arrives. But until that time, more speculations, innit? Peace.
Venom.